In the 5th year of our relationship, Ethan Hayes and I drove out to Mount Hope Chapel, the most sacred wish-making spot in all of Brookhaven. The priest handed us 2 cream wish ribbons. Ethan and I stood back to back to write our wishes. Mine read, to stay with Ethan Hayes, year after year. Never to be apart. Ethan was being secretive, refusing to let me see what he'd written. On the drive down the mountain, I saw my best friend had posted a new Instagram story. The photo showed a wish ribbon with black ink, tied to a tree branch. Violet Moore lives a long, full life. I recognized Ethan's handwriting instantly. We got into a screaming fight, and he left me stranded on the side of a desolate, empty road. Clara Bennett, didn't you say your best friend and I were the 2 most important people in your life? He snapped. She was born with a heart condition. Is it so wrong that I want her to live a long life? In that moment, I realized the love and friendship I'd nurtured for so many years were all a lie. The sky darkened. I was soaked to the bone, my hands shaking as I opened the Uber app. The spot where Ethan had kicked me out of the car was impossibly remote. I triggered surge pricing 3 times in a row. But no driver would take the fare. Not a single car passed by. The sound of rain hammering the trees made my chest tight with fear, and panic coiled tighter by the second. For a split second, I wanted to give in to call Ethan, apologize, beg him to come back for me. But the thought lasted barely a second before I snuffed it out. I'd done nothing wrong. Why should I be the one to back down first? I'd lost count of how many times Ethan had broken my heart for Violet Moore. 6 months earlier, my parents had driven into the city from Hollow Creek to visit me. That day, I'd been stuck at work rushing to finish a marketing proposal and couldn't get away. I texted Ethan, asking him to pick my parents up. He'd agreed without hesitation. Then Violet called, sobbing that her puppy was missing, and Ethan had turned the car around immediately to go help her look for it. My parents stood waiting in the sweltering heat for 3 hours, arms loaded with bags. And he never showed. My mom was still recovering from minor surgery. By the time I raced over after work, she'd suffered severe heatstroke and been rushed to the hospital by ambulance. That night, Ethan showed up at the hospital, kneeling by my mom's bed and apologizing over and over. Violet came too, standing in the doorway holding her dog, tears brimming in her eyes. Looking fragile and helpless, Ethan took full blame for everything. Not a single word of criticism fell on Violet. 3 months before that, Ethan and I had planned our 5th anniversary dinner. Ethan had booked a table at that Skyline restaurant everyone fights to get into. We were almost there when Violet called, not to me, but to Ethan. She was crying hysterically. Ethan, I napped and dreamed Snowball got hit by a car. I haven't been able to calm down since noon. Can you please come stay with me? Snowball was Violet's dog. Ethan pulled over the second he heard her voice. Violet was gasping through her sobs. Ethan, is Clara with you? Tell her I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to ruin your anniversary dinner. I snatched the phone out of Ethan's hand. I'll come stay with you. Violet's crying cut off abruptly. After a few seconds, she said, Clara, I wish you could, but Snowball doesn't like you. Every time you come over, he won't eat the next day. Ethan grabbed the phone back, annoyed. Vi, don't cry. You know your heart can't handle this kind of stress. I'll drop Clara off at the next intersection and turn around. I'll be at your place in 40 minutes tops. That was the first time I'd ever lost my temper with Ethan. I refused to let him go to her. Ethan Hayes, you are my boyfriend. Why are you running off to another woman on our anniversary? Do you even care how I feel? Ethan looked at me coldly. Clara, when did you become so heartless? Violet's your best friend. If something happens to her, you'll be the one who suffers most. I stared at his moving lips, unable to form a single word in my defense. I pulled myself back to the present. The rain had stopped, but it was still pouring inside my chest. I called the police for help, and didn't get home until well after midnight. The living room light was on, and I heard noise coming from the kitchen. I dragged my exhausted body to the kitchen doorway. What I saw cut me straight to the bone. Ethan was standing at the stove in a cartoon-printed apron, cooking. Violet was leaning against him like she had no bones of her own. Ethan, go easy on the soy sauce. Too much makes your skin darken. Ethan glanced over at her, his tone exasperated but fond. That's not true. You never listen when I tell you to read more. You don't know the first thing about science. Violet's eyes slowly welled up with tears. She said nothing, just bit her lower lip and looked up at him. Wounded and wronged. It took Ethan a few seconds to realize what he'd done. Okay, I won't tease you about it again. He reached out and gently wiped her tears away. I'm sorry, I forgot how your parents favored your brother and pulled you out of school after 10th grade. There now, don't cry. Forgive me this once. Violet hiccuped through her tears. Fine, since you're being so sincere. I guess I'll forgive you, but you have to write me a promise note. Ethan flicked her forehead lightly. You're so demanding. He was smiling when he said it. Violet dried her eyes and stuck her tongue out playfully. I can be demanding. I'm Clara's best friend. Remember. If you're mean to me, I'll tell on you. I'd been out in the rain too long. My forehead burned with fever, the room tilting around me, everything doubling in my vision. I pushed past the dizziness and spoke. Ethan, Violet, what are you two doing? Both of them snapped their heads toward me at once. Panic flashed in both their eyes. Ethan reacted first, shoving Violet away from him hard. Caught off guard, Violet stumbled backward, wobbling on her feet, right before she fell. Ethan reached out on instinct and caught her. I watched them, calm as still water. Violet looked ready to burst into tears. Clara, you've got the wrong idea about me and Ethan. Ethan stepped in front of Violet, shielding her. His voice was ice cold. Clara, why do you creep around without making a sound? Violet had heart surgery 6 months ago. What if you'd scared her and made her condition worse? I laughed, sharp and bitter. Creeping around. You two were too busy flirting to hear me come home. How dare you turn this around on me? Ethan must have known he didn't have a leg to stand on, because he didn't argue back. Violet stepped forward and looped her arm through mine. Clara, I swear it's not what you think. My chest was hurting. So I leaned on him for a second. He knows he messed up today's cooking to make it up to you. I glanced at the dishes already set out on the kitchen island. Pan-seared tilapia, roasted broccoli with garlic shrimp, chicken and corn chowder, all mild. All Violet's favorites. Violet followed my gaze, and her face flickered. I pulled my arm free. I'm not hungry. You two eat. Violet started crying. Frantic. Clara, are you still mad at me? I know I shouldn't have come over this late. I wanted to explain. Ethan only wrote my name on the wish ribbon because he worries about my health. My whole body felt heavy, like it was filled with lead. I didn't have the energy to fight with her. Violet, I believe there's nothing going on between you and Ethan. Now please move. I'm going to my room to shower and sleep. Violet didn't seem to understand plain English. She planted herself in my way, stubborn as a mule. Clara, you're my only friend. If you don't believe me, what's the point of even living? Violet, you were my only friend too. Violet and I had known each other since the day we were born. For the longest time, I'd thought she was the most important person in my life after my parents. Even after I started dating Ethan, her place in my heart never wavered. But look how she'd repaid me. I was halfway through blow-drying my hair after my shower when Ethan walked in. He loomed over me. Clara, come out and eat. My head throbbed and spun. I frowned and shook my head. Ethan grabbed my wrist roughly and dragged me out of the bedroom. At the dining table, Violet had already scooped rice onto a plate for me. She forced a smile and held out a fork. I didn't take it. Ethan clicked his tongue in annoyance and shoved me down into a chair. Violet pressed the fork into my hand. See, Clara, I talked to Ethan. He made spicy jalapeno pork skillet just for you. I looked up. The so-called spicy pork was made with red and yellow bell peppers, mild, not hot. Still made exactly how Violet liked it. I dropped the fork straight into the trash can, right in front of both of them. I said I'm not hungry. Then I stood up and went back to my room. This time, I learned my lesson. I locked the door behind me and pushed a heavy dresser against it. I needed to rest. I was exhausted, body and soul. But I couldn't sleep. Every memory played through my head like a movie, frame by frame. When I first met Ethan, he couldn't cook at all. The day he asked me out, his palms were sweaty with nerves. Clara, I swear I'll take such good care of you. If we're together, I'll do all the cooking, cleaning, and laundry. You won't have to lift a finger. Just keep being your beautiful self. Amid the cheers of our friends, I said yes. Ethan was a man of his word. He remembered every promise he'd made me. The first day we started dating, he ordered a dozen cookbooks online, knowing I loved spicy food. He'd driven all over Brookhaven to every grocery store and market, buying dozens of different kinds of peppers. Every night after work, he'd lock himself in the kitchen, perfecting one spicy dish after another. When had he forgotten I loved spicy food? The first time Violet came over, he'd cooked a whole feast to welcome her. Violet had stared at all the spicy food, looking miserable. "Clara, didn't you tell your boyfriend I can't handle spicy food?" "I did tell him." I twisted Ethan's ear, half teasing, half annoyed. "Why do you never listen to me?" This is what he'd said back then. "Clara, I only cook for you. I don't care what anyone else likes. So I don't bother remembering." I'd been equal parts annoyed and charmed, and ended up ordering a bunch of mild takeout to feed Violet. After that, the spicy dishes on our dinner table slowly disappeared, and the mild, Violet-friendly ones kept piling up. I should have seen it coming. If the food was shifting to suit Violet, then Ethan's love was shifting too. I slept terribly. One minute I heard Violet's quiet sobs. The next, Ethan was banging on the door, yelling about how long I was going to keep throwing a fit. I was so tired I couldn't even yell at them to leave me alone. I had 100 dreams that night. I dreamed of 7-year-old Violet, strung up from a tree by her parents while they hit her. "You greedy little thing. Stealing your brother's candy. Ungrateful waste of space." I heard the crying from far away, grabbed a thorny stick off the ground, and ran straight for them. Violet didn't steal anything. The candy in her bag was from me. My shouting drew a crowd of adults. Violet's parents cursed and cut her down. She was covered in bruises. I cried my eyes out, my chest tight with pity. "Vi, come live with me. Be my parents' daughter. You're so pretty and so smart, they'll love you." Violet hugged me and cried, "I can't, Clara. My parents are raising me to pay for my brother's wedding and his house. They need the money." After that, I packed 2 breakfasts to take to school every single day to share with her. At lunch, I'd pick all the meat off my plate and put it on Violet's. Violet cried easily. Every time, she'd eat and cry at the same time. "Clara, are you an angel sent to save me?" I tilted my head and thought about it, then shook my head. "No, I'm your best friend. That's what I'm here for." From age 7 to 27, 20 whole years, Violet and I never fought, never had a single falling out. We were each other's shadow. A shadow is part of you. From the day we sealed our childhood vow with a pinky promise to be best friends forever, we became part of each other. We leaned on each other. We were inseparable. The scene shifted. Suddenly, it was Ethan standing in front of me. The worst year of our lives. His startup failed. I moved with him into a dark, damp basement apartment. The mildew smell never went away. Not all year round. Our clothes were always growing mold spots. One winter, I was crouched by the door scrubbing clothes, my hands raw and red, but I couldn't get the mold out. Ethan saw me. He disappeared for an entire week. When he came back, he was thinner, his skin darker from the sun. He smiled at me, showing his straight white teeth. "Clara, I did heavy construction work all week. Bought you a washing machine." Later, Ethan bought me necklaces, rings, and so many pretty dresses. Every time I stepped outside, Mrs. Henderson, the elderly neighbor, would say how well Ethan took care of me. When things got better, the first thing Ethan did was buy a house, paid for it outright in cash, put the house solely in my name. The day we moved in, Ethan cooked a full spread of 10 dishes. His face was bright red from the spice. He had to chug water after every single bite. His eyes were shining brighter than diamonds, brighter than stars. I got lost in that light, and I heard him say, "Clara, I love you so much." I smiled back. "I love you too, Ethan. After my parents and Vi, you're the person I love most in the world." Ethan had frowned at that. "Who's Vi?" "My best friend, my only friend," Ethan had huffed, playful but annoyed. "When do I get to meet her? I want to see what kind of person can be more important than me." Soon, the day Violet came over, I thought it was the start of something perfect. I had no idea my happiness ended the second Ethan laid eyes on her. I slept until noon before I finally woke up. My throat was dry as a bone. It took all my strength to move the heavy dresser away from the door. When I stepped out of the bedroom, I heard Violet crying. "Ethan, the neighbor watching Snowball just called. He ate something bad and he's seizing on the floor." "What do I do, Ethan? I'm so scared." Please come with me to take him to the vet. Please. Ethan didn't answer her right away. He'd seen me. I met his gaze calmly, my voice rough. Ethan, I got sick from the rain last night. If you go with Violet today, we're done. I still needed to know, between me and Violet, would Ethan choose me? Ethan chose Violet. He grabbed his car keys and headed for the door with her. At the door, he looked back. Disappointment was written all over his face. Clara, what are the odds? Violet's dog gets sick. And suddenly you're sick too. You gave Snowball to Violet. That dog means more to her than life itself. If something happens to him, she won't make it. Do you really want that on your conscience? I didn't bother arguing. I just repeated myself. We're done. Ethan's brows furrowed deep. Violet tugged on his sleeve. Ethan, Snowball's waiting. Ethan said coldly. Suit yourself. I stood there frozen for a long time. Half an hour later, I was in the hospital getting in for when a text from Violet popped up. Clara, Ethan said you're sick. Is it bad? I didn't reply. 30 seconds later, Violet posted to Instagram. Snowball, your dad ran so fast he lost a shoe. You better get better soon, or mommy's gonna yell at him for you. The video showed Ethan, one shoe missing, his tie askew, his hair a total mess, sprinting into the vet clinic with Snowball in his arms. A few minutes later, Ethan commented under the post, Snowball's gonna be just fine. Violet replied with a hug emoji. I locked my phone. Emptiness spread through my chest. After my 4 was done, I bought sausage biscuit sliders from the hospital cafeteria. I was on my second one when Ethan called. Clara, Snowball has to stay overnight. Vi and I can't leave. If you're not busy, go to the grocery store and pick up some ribs to make him soup. I'll swing by the house later to get it. Ethan, did you forget we broke up? And tell Violet this for me. We're not friends anymore. Starting today. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Ethan roared through the phone. Clara, how long are you gonna keep this up? So I didn't put your name on a stupid wish ribbon. Is that really worth breaking up over? Dumping me? Cutting off Vowin, are you gonna grow up? I hung up. He called again. I hung up again. Finally, I blocked both of them on everything. That afternoon, I went to the local real estate agency. The agent I worked with was shocked when I said I wanted to sell the house. Ms. Bennett, that house is in such high demand. Are you sure you want to sell? I nodded. I'll list it below market value. I only have one condition. It has to sell fast. The agent patted his chest confidently. You got it, Ms. Bennett. I'll find you a cash buyer in no time. Go home and wait for my call. Days went by, and Ethan never came home. We'd been together 5 years. I knew exactly what he was doing. He was punishing me for being disobedient, for being unreasonable. Ethan's best friend Tyler called to talk some sense into me. Clara, you've been with Ethan for years. How can you fight him over something this small? He's a great guy. You'll never find anyone better. If you think he's so great, divorce your wife and marry him yourself. Click. He hung up on me. 2 days later, the agent called me back into the office. Someone had made an offer full asking price. No haggling. I signed the papers. The house was sold that same day. The buyer was a really nice woman. She gave me 1 day to pack up my things. I got home and called a cleaning service. All my stuff got packed up and shipped back to Hollow Creek. As for Ethan and Violet's things, I told the cleaners to stuff 'em all into big trash bags. If they didn't come get 'em, throw 'em out. When that was done, I called HR at work and quit. The next morning, I dragged my suitcase to the bus station. I'd just sat down in the waiting area when my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. Clara, you need to move out for a little while. It was Ethan. I held the phone away from my ear as he kept talking. Snowball's coming home today. Vi had a psychic read him, and she said he'll only heal fast if he lives in our house. Violet's voice chimed in right after. Clara, I'm so sorry. It's just for Snowball. You'll have to crash somewhere else for a bit. I smiled coldly. Sure thing. What happened next? I heard from a mutual friend. Ethan and Violet showed up with the dog, punched in the door code over and over, and it kept saying wrong. The buyer heard the noise and came to check. The 3 of them just stared at each other. Ethan and Violet had no idea what was going on and tried to force their way in, so the buyer called the cops. All 3 of them and the dog ended up at the police station giving statements. Halfway through the interview, Violet had a heart attack, and for no reason at all. Snowball went berserk in the station, trying to bite everyone. After all that chaos, Ethan finally remembered me. He called me over and over. Frantic. But of course he couldn't get through. I'd blocked him ages ago. He didn't give up. He borrowed other people's phones to call me. The cold automated voice told him the number was unavailable. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, I was home in Hollow Creek. My parents were busy cooking at the cast iron wood stove. On the square kitchen table, every single dish was my favorite. When she heard me come in, my mom wiped her hands on her apron and smiled, coming over to help with my bags. My dad, quiet and steady, smiled at me from the stove, spatula in hand. My heart, adrift for so many years, finally found peace. After dinner, Mom asked what I planned to do next. I knew what she meant about work and about Ethan. I told her I wasn't going back to the city. I was staying in town. Mom slammed her hand on the table. Clara Bennett, your father and I worked our fingers to the bone to put you through college. We didn't do that so you could come back and farm. Dad just sighed. Over and over. Mom, I'm not coming back to farm. I stood up and looked out at the vast plum orchards stretching into the distance, glowing in the hot afternoon sun. Dad. Mom, I'm gonna sell all these plums. Mom dropped the meat she'd been holding back onto her plate. Dad chugged his entire glass of tea in one go. Neither of them said a word. Mom, Dad. There's more than one way to build a good life. Some people make it in the big city. Others put down roots where they grew up. I don't want to be away from you too. I don't want to be away from this land. I know I can do this. I can help boost the local economy and raise everyone's incomes. Dad set his glass down hard on the table. Mom set down her fork. Finally, Mom spoke. Clara, your dad and I believe in you. After dinner, I'll have your dad go get the mayor. You can tell him all your ideas. Hardly any young people stay in this town. The mayor'll be thrilled you want to stick around. My throat tightened. Not for Ethan. Not for Violet. For myself. I hadn't let the hurt break me. I hadn't let the betra y'all kill my hope. I was like the wild grass in the fields. Like the wind through the valleys coming back. Again and again. Growing stronger. No matter what. After dinner, Dad went to fetch the mayor. I cleared the table. Mom asked me, Clara, is it really over between you and Ethan? Yeah, I was at peace with it. I wasn't sad. I didn't miss him. Something in me had shifted completely. Talking about Ethan and Violet felt like talking about strangers. Mom was furious. Your boyfriend and your best friend, how could they do that to you? Now that you're not friends with her anymore, I can say this. Your dad and I never liked Violet. She's always been conniving, even as a kid. You remember when her parents strung her up from that tree for stealing her brother's candy? I remember. I remembered it all too well. That was the day Violet and I became best friends. We found out later the real reason they beat her. She almost sold her brother to a human trafficker. If her parents hadn't caught on and waited by the road, she would have gone through with it. Her parents favor boys. And if the town found out how cruel she was at that age, no one would marry her when she grew up. So they told everyone it was just candy. My blood ran cold. Mom got angrier as she went on. And that's not all. She's always lied and stolen. Once, when her grandma yelled at her, she snuck to the general store and bought rat poison. Then put it in her grandma's oatmeal. I remembered that too. It was a stormy night. Violet's mom had banged on our door in the rain, looking for my parents. Said Violet's grandma was dying. I went with my parents to their house. Violet was kneeling by her grandma's bed, sobbing loud, her eyes swollen like walnuts. I went over to comfort her, and her tears fell against my neck. Clara, I don't have a grandma anymore. She was the nicest person in the world besides you. I don't want her to die. She cried, and I cried with her. Vi, you still have me. The truth was so much crueler than I'd ever known. Life back in town was full, every single day. I woke up at 5 or 6 every morning, feeding the chickens, ducks, and hogs. After breakfast, I went out to the orchard with Mom and Dad. This year, every farm had a huge harvest. When things are scarce, they're valuable. The opposite is also true. The plums in town weren't fetching a good price. The out-of-town buyers kept driving the price lower and lower. On the first day, I posted a carefully edited video. Quiet, peaceful country scenery, smoke curling from chimney tops, Cows and sheep grazing gently. People working from sunup to sundown. Big, plump plums hanging heavy on the branches. Glowing golden in the sun. The video got thousands of likes and comments. This makes me miss my childhood. That wood stove. I miss my mom cooking while my dad and I fought over stoking the fire. Please keep posting. My generation left home young. And our memories of home are fading. My daughter asked me what I did for fun as a kid, and I told her I fed cows and cut hay. She didn't believe me until I showed her this. Now she wants to live like that. This is what homesickness feels like, when you said come home when you can. I bought tickets for tomorrow, taking my wife and son back home. The video went viral. A few major news outlets reposted it with my permission. After that, I posted a video every day. Slowly, more and more people noticed those heavy-laden plum trees. People started asking how to buy the plums. Thousands of comments begging me to put up a link. When the time was right, I went live with Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad stood behind me, each holding a bowl of plums. I stood in front of the camera and explained, "These are honey drop plums from our town." I was professional. I talked about the taste, the texture, the nutrition, everything in detail. I answered every comment from viewers. Orders poured in. Mom and Dad watched the numbers climb on the screen, grinning from ear to ear. That night, I called everyone together for a post-campaign debrief meeting. When they saw the total sales numbers, the room erupted in cheers. The mayor shook my hand, tears in his eyes. "Clara, thank you. Without you, this year's crop would have rotted on the trees." Tears burned my eyes too. There are so many reasons to keep going. Helping other people is one of them. I was so grateful everything was going according to plan. I'd never really strayed from the path in my life. Once, when I decided to be best friends with Violet. Once, when I said yes to Ethan. Luckily, I'd woken up in time, cut my losses before it was too late. Life is long. Every day is precious. There's no point wasting time on people and things that don't matter. I thought I'd made myself clear, that I'd never see Ethan or Violet again, but they found their way to Hollow Creek. I had to cut my live stream short. Ethan stood there, same as ever, acting like he owned the place. "Clara, you've had your little tantrum long enough. Aren't you done being mad?" Violet walked up to me holding Snowball, forcing a few tears. "Clara, after you left, Ethan and I thought a lot about everything. We shouldn't have treated you that way. We're sorry." Violet always did this. Fragility and tears were her weapons. They'd always worked on me, every single time. But this time, she'd miscalculated. I didn't feel an ounce of pity. "Violet, spare me the act. You wanted me and Ethan to break up. Admit it." The dog jumped out of her arms and started snarling at me. Vicious. I bent down, picked up a stick off the ground, and held it up to defend myself. I'd given that dog to Violet. At first, he'd loved me, but after a while, every time he saw me, he'd bare his teeth. Just like Ethan, just like Violet. None of them ever knew how to be loyal. Violet clutched her chest, swaying like she was about to faint. "Clara, how can you think that of me? I want nothing more than for you to be happy. If you hate me being around Ethan, I promise I'll never see him again." Ethan flew into a rage at that. "Clara, look what you're doing to her. She was born with a heart condition, even after surgery. She has to take it easy. You're being so cruel. Do you want her to die?" I was confused. What had I even said? Just because Violet had a heart condition, I was supposed to let her walk all over me. Hadn't I let her get away with enough already? Every time she didn't feel well, Ethan dropped everything to be with her. Was that not enough? Even her dog mattered more to Ethan than I did. The argument drew a crowd of townsfolk. I didn't want to fight with Ethan. "Ethan, you're not welcome in this town. And you, Violet." Violet bit her lip, tears streaming down her face, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Ethan stepped in front of her, shielding her, his eyes blazing. "Clara, if you trigger Violet's heart condition, don't say I didn't warn you." "Heart condition," a rough, gravelly voice called out from behind Ethan. The man stepped forward. It was Violet's father, scowling like thunder. "Mr. Moore," slapped Violet hard across the face. "There you are, you ungrateful brat. Ignoring my calls, ignoring my texts. Think you're too good for your family. Your brother's getting married. Where's the $35,000 I told you to come up with? If you don't have the money today, You're gonna do what your mom and I say, marry that fool from the next town over. And if you run, I'll find you and break your legs. Violet stumbled back from the blow. Ethan caught her just in time. His eyes went red with rage, and he lunged at Mr. Moore. Fists flying, the mayor showed up and had people pull them apart. Both of them were bloodied and bruised. Ethan pointed at the mayor. I know you. You're the mayor of this town. Are you gonna let this piece of trash treat his daughter like this? The mayor sighed, already exhausted, and told Ethan to go on. Ethan was furious. This man is worse than an animal. He raised Violet just to leech off her. He knows all her money went to her heart surgery, and he's still forcing her to pay for her brother's wedding. Just then, Violet's mom showed up. Surgery. What's wrong with that girl? She's never been sick a day in her life. Violet tried to run. Guilty. But her mom was faster. She grabbed Violet by the hair and dragged her over to Ethan. Violet Moore, you tell him right now. What heart condition? Violet's eyes filled with tears, shaking her head over and over. Mom, Dad, stop, please. Violet wouldn't say it, so Ethan said it for her. Violet was born with a heart defect, and you two never cared, you just kept pushing her. Mrs. Moore rolled her eyes. She knew right away this was another one of Violet's lies. Violet, you've been lying since you were a kid. Now you're lying to Clara's boyfriend. You've got some nerve. You say you got a heart condition. Fine, we're going to the hospital right now to get you tested. Mr. Moore spat on the ground, disgusted. Violet, Clara's done more for this town than anyone, and you're messing around with her man. When we get home, I'll beat you within an inch of your life. Chaos erupted. Violet refused to go to the hospital, kicking and screaming. Even now, Ethan still believed her. Vi, don't be scared. I'm here. No one's gonna hurt you. Violet stopped crying, dropped the fragile act entirely. She wrenched her hand free from her mom's, her eyes blazing with hatred. I don't have a heart condition. There. Are you happy now, Clara? I just stared. What did I have to do with any of this? Hearing Violet say it out loud, Ethan's tall frame swayed. Vi, what are you saying? Violet screamed at him. Are you deaf? Ethan, I lied to you. I lied to Clara. I faked it. There's nothing wrong with me. Ethan's face went ashen. I had plums to sell. I gave Mom a look. She nodded, and told the mayor to have Ethan and Violet escorted out of town. Violet tried to leave, but her parents blocked her way. Where do you think you're going, you little liar? Violet begged Ethan for help. Ethan just stood there like a ghost. He didn't even glance at her. I streamed every day for 2 weeks straight. Not just our town, I helped the neighboring towns sell their plums too. Every day, people showed up at our door with gifts to say thank you. Eggs, smoked bacon, fresh vegetables straight from the garden. Small tokens of gratitude. Mom and Dad tried to say no, but ended up accepting everything with smiles. My account gained followers every single day. One day, a TV news crew came to interview me. Mom dug through her closet and found her favorite old dress for me to wear. Dad sat nearby shaving, and suggested Mom braid my hair into 2 pigtails. Mom tilted my chin, looked me over, and smiled. She agreed. The interview started. The reporter asked me, Clara, we heard you were director of operations at a top tech firm before you moved back. Why would you give up such a high-paying job to come home to a small town? I sat up straight and smiled into the camera. I've always wanted to come back. I wanted to put down roots in the place I love most. The 9-to-5 life never fit me. When I wrote marketing proposals, I'd think about the wildflowers blooming in the fields. When I sat in meetings, I'd think about the corn hanging from every front porch. I talked for a long time about my vision, about how I felt, about what I loved. When the interview went online, I became a viral trending topic that same day. Every comment was positive. Our town blew up in popularity. Every day, tourists flocked to see it. The mayor and I were busier than ever. We had to make new development plans for the town. We had to train the townsfolk on hospitality and good manners. One day, I was walking home after work when someone stepped into my path. It was Ethan. It had been a while. He'd lost so much weight. The clothes I'd bought him used to fit perfectly. Now they hung off him like a sack. There were dark, heavy circles under his eyes. Stubble covered his jaw. He hadn't shaved in days. I stepped back, repulsed. Ethan, what do you want? Ethan dropped to his knees right in front of me. with shaking hands. He pulled something out of his pocket. It was the wish ribbon he'd tied to the tree. Clara, look. I took the wish ribbon for Violet down. I wrote a new one, this time. I wished we'd stay together forever, never to be apart. I felt nothing. Ethan, it's too late. Ethan's shoulders slumped. Ethan, from the first time you ignored what I liked and cooked for Violet instead, we were never gonna make it. I used to love you. So much, but you broke my heart again and again. In your eyes, I wasn't even as important as Violet's dog. At the mention of the dog, Ethan's eyes went bloodshot, wild and terrible. Clara, I was so stupid. That bitch Violet, she was always faking chest pain. Or saying her dog was sick. She even had someone poison the dog on purpose, just to trick me into leaving you for her. I took a deep breath. Ethan, telling me this now doesn't change anything. I don't feel sorry for you. I don't forgive you. I gave you chances. You threw them all away. Tears streamed down Ethan's face. He grabbed the hem of my pants. Clara, please, what can I do to get you back? I shook my head. Keep walking. Ethan, I didn't wait for a response. I turned and ran home as fast as I could. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens. I got dressed fast, about to go see what was happening, when Mom came rushing in. Clara, Ethan's lost his mind. He climbed over the Moor's fence this morning and stabbed Violet multiple times. She lost too much blood. She was gone before the ambulance got there. That college kid in town who knows about law says it's first-degree murder. He'll probably get the death penalty. A high-pitched ringing filled my ears. It took me a long time to process it. I washed up, ate breakfast, did my stream, met with the mayor to talk about the town's future. Half a month later, I finished streaming and stepped outside the shed. A kid with dyed blonde hair was waiting for me. I recognized him. It was Violet's little brother, Jake. I tried to walk around him, but he stepped in my way. Clara, my sister wanted me to give you this. I looked down. It was a letter. I hesitated for a few seconds, then took it. It started with "I'm sorry," and it ended with, "Clara, if there's a next life, I'll be a real best friend to you. I promise." I tore the letter into pieces. On the way home, I ran into that college kid, the one who knew about law. He was wearing a white shirt and dark pants, riding his bike. He looked handsome. For a second, he reminded me of Ethan. All those years ago, Ethan had dressed just like that when he asked me out. Clara, I love you. The wind carried Ethan's words away. Clara Bennett wasn't going to stop walking. She was going to keep moving forward, straight toward the bright, beautiful future waiting for her.